Today we're taking a look at Vaer and their first chronograph. This is the R1. It is a meca-quartz powered chronograph that is assembled here in the United States. It takes a lot of inspiration from 1970s racing chronographs, and it has a barrel shape. It's coming in two sizes as well. Today we have the 38mm in a cream dial. So let's flip the camera and take a look at the new R1 from Vaer. So it's been a little while since I featured a Vaer here on my channel. This is their latest chronograph. Actually got this a little while ago, never got around to making the video, so here we are today. This is a vintage inspired chronograph in 38mm. So they're making this in two different sizes, 42mm and 38mm. Now the 38mm is actually a smaller size. There were a lot of vintage chronographs from that time in the 42mm range as well. So if you're interested in that size, it's kind of period correct as well. Now, this does get a boxed domed sapphire crystal. Take a look at that. Really high off the case, and obviously gives it a very good vintage feel. This is the cream dial. So you get three different colors for the sub-registers. You have a sub-register here that is in cream. You have a red hand there. That is the second hand for the chronograph. Then you have a red and black register there at 9 o'clock, and then a black register at the 3 o'clock. Essentially, the way that a meca-quartz chronograph works is that it's a traditional quartz movement with a mechanical chronograph on top. That's why you get a sweep second to the chronograph hand. Very, very simple. And then you have a tick to the running seconds that is at 6 o'clock. So that ticks like a traditional quartz watch. Now, as I mentioned, this is a 38mm watch, and I believe the lug to lug is pretty tight on here as well. So it measures just about 38mm, so just under 38mm. The lug to lug on here is pretty tight as well. I measured around 47mm, 46 and change. Crown size on here, 5.8mm. You do get 100 meters of water resistance on this watch, which is actually pretty good, and just around 12mm thickness. So 100 meters of water resistance, you get that because you do get a screwed-in case back, and this is a double pass tornado, so I'll just take this off very quickly. You can get this on a rubber strap. I actually think that's the way I would go because the rubber straps that they offer are actually really nice. So it has a very similar case back to all of the other Vaers that I have featured here on my channel. Really nice wave pattern, really nicely embossed, engraved. Looks good and give you a little bit of a spec sheet all the way around the case back. So you do get a screwed in case back and a screwed in crown. The pushes are not screwed in, and that's why you have 100 meters of water resistance. Really not that bad for a chronograph. Good looking watch. You get lots of lume on the dial. You have a minute track that is sort of in black, a little bit of a contrast color to the dial. Again, that dial is in cream. It just says Vaer right there. You have those colored sub-registers, which look great as well, and there's sort of a step down to those. So there's a little bit of a sandwich almost, more like a step down for each one of the registers. You have a yellow running seconds hand, and it's sort of a pale yellow, so it doesn't stand out very bright against the cream background. You do have applied indices. Those have slightly patinaed lume, and they have silver surrounds, and they are filled with lume, and then they sort of don't have a back to them, and then there's a little bit of lume that is sitting on the dial as well. And I'll do a lume shot at the end so you can see what I'm talking about. So very quickly, I'm going to throw it on my wrist, and then I'll talk about price, and then we will do that lume shot. Now, this does get a double pass tornado, as I mentioned. It is signed. I'm not a huge fan of this watch on a double pass tornado. I would like to see this watch on a strap. I think this would look great on one of their American-made straps, or maybe one of their rubber straps. By the way, this is American assembled. It actually says it on the dial, and then it says 10 ATM at the bottom of the dial as well. So all of Vaer's watches are assembled and tested here in the United States. So obviously, when they came out with the chronograph, even though it's a meca-quartz, they still assembled them and still test them here in the United States, which obviously adds to the cost of creation of this watch. So something to keep in mind. Very quickly, today I have on a legend. This is my Blancpain 50 Fathoms. This is the Aqua Lung version, a watch that was actually sold through the stores that were sort of run by or owned by Jacques Cousteau. Just an amazing historic watch. and my latest addition to my collection. I really love this watch. I'm very, very excited about it. So here is the Vaer on my 7.5-inch wrist. Now, like I said, this does have a double pass-through NATO, and it is a vintage style watch that kind of makes sense, but it does wear a little bit thicker because of it, and I think this would wear a little bit nicer on a rubber strap or maybe a really nice distressed leather strap. But I have a 7.5-inch wrist. This is a 38mm watch, just about, and then you have about a 47mm lug span and around a 12mm thickness. That's including the very boxed vintage style sapphire crystal. Price on this is $399. That is on the more expensive side for a meca-quartz chronograph. It is assembled here in the United States. That is something that does add to the price. But that even being said, it's still on the more expensive side. If you like the way this looks and you like what Vaer is about, then you will see the value. Anyway, guys, very quickly, a lume shot. Well, there you go. Lume is decently applied to the hands and indices, pretty bright. Obviously, the case on here is heavily inspired by 1970s chronographs, specifically racing chronographs, maybe like the Mark II from Omega, and there's a bunch of other, sort of racing inspired chronographs that were made during that time. Basically, this is a primarily brushed case, except you have a very large stripe of polish on either side, and it's very similar to what you would get from a 70s chronograph. Really cool style, and I especially like that domed box sapphire crystal that they chose. I think it looks really good on this watch. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel. I very much appreciate it. If you could hit that bell icon, you are notified of when I come out with videos. And obviously, I come out with videos pretty often, so lots of watches coming through the channel. So definitely subscribe and hit that bell icon and like this video if you found it helpful. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you in the next video.